want to take a minute to address just a little bit of last week. So, yes, I was manic. I am bipolar. I've talked about it. You can scroll back. It's no secret. I'm bipolar. But I've never experienced a manic state. I've only ever experienced a hypomanic state. So that was actually a brand new thing for me that I was experiencing in real time with all of you guys. But it didn't start that way. It started with me doing some spoken word poetry and trying to talk about things that I care about, which are homelessness and dying children and the environment, and also talk about the overlap of religion and aliens and mental health and dimensions and all of these different concepts like karma, and how we've politicized them and made them into these weird culty controlling type things, when in reality we're mostly just using different language for the same thing. Where I feel shit started getting really intense was when that guy came to my door and asked me to use my bathroom. And I know that a lot of people were like, why the fuck would you let a stranger in your house? But from where I was sitting, I try to be kind wherever I can. So it was like 9:30 in the morning and I was on the phone with my friend, and some guy has one earbud in and he's kind of sweaty and he says, I was just on a run and I was wondering, can I use your bathroom? And I sized him up and he asked him his age. He's 27 years old and he was wearing pretty tight clothes. I could see that he didn't have any like guns or didn't see any weapons on him. So my bathroom is right by the front door. So I was like, sure, you can use the bathroom. And then when he came out of the bathroom, I was still on the phone with my friend, and he asked me if I wanted to hang out. And I said that I couldn't because I had plans for the day. And he said, what are you doing? And I said, well, first I'm going to go for a run. And he asked if he could go for a run with me. And I said, well, I really prefer that to be my alone time. That's where I really meditate and think and pray. And then he asked if he could pray with me. And my friend was still on the phone. I asked him if he wanted some coffee. So I got his prints, I got his DNA, I had him say his full name on the phone. I really felt like I was protecting myself just in case this 27-year-old scrawny ass guy was going to try something. He knew that I had his prints and his DNA and also a witness to his name and the fact that he was there. So as he kept pushing to hang out with me after I told him that I wasn't interested, I asked him basically, do you have any friends? Like, are you okay? Because he was like shaking, and now I know why. It's because he was doing something incredibly disgusting and manipulative and he was nervous about it. But he told me he didn't have any friends and he was feeling really alone, and I'll explain more in part 2. So then I put his name and his face on the internet. So I'm like, there's no way this guy could be that dumb to do something. Like, I feel pretty protected. Again, it's 9:30 in the fucking morning. Like, there's people in and around my house. Like, I had the windows open. Like, what, I didn't think that he was going to like murder me or like hurt me or something like that. But then he followed me upstairs after I very specifically told him to stay downstairs. And that's when I was like, okay, this kid is pushing a boundary. This isn't safe. So then I filmed him again, and I just kept putting him on the internet to remind him that there are people watching him and to not do anything stupid. So then I get a text from a bunch of friends actually, and they're like, hey, I don't know who the fuck you think that guy is in your house, but get him the fuck out because he's posting in your house. So I was like, okay, let me get this kid the fuck out of my house. And that's where you saw me scream, get the fuck out of my house. And then he left. So after I kicked him out of my house, I was like pretty shaken and like hurt, to be honest, because like this city is so fucking evil, like straight up. And like, no matter like what happens to me, like I still fight so hard to just like try to do the right thing and the kind thing, because I don't want to be one of those people who turns people away in their moment of need. Like, if you're out walking and like you're like, fuck, I have to use the bathroom. Like, this guy literally said to me like, yeah, I almost went on the street, but like there's kids that play out here and that's pretty gross. And there's literally a sign down where I go for a run sometimes where somebody literally wrote like, kids play here, please don't pee here, literally. So I'm like, yo, this guy literally just wants to use the bathroom. I don't want to be the person who slams the door in a stranger's face when they're asking for like a bare minimum need. Like, this guy didn't want to whip out his dick in public and pee where kids play. I thought that was like a pretty respectable thing. Now we all know that that is not the case. But after I kicked him out, I was like, really shaken, like I was upset, I just put on some music. I went in my room. Sorry, I'm trying not to get emotional about this, but it is upsetting. So I was just like pacing around in my room and like trying to calm myself down. And then I hear banging at my door and I thought it was him. So I just set my alarms on my phone, and then I hear banging and banging and banging, and then I got my glass break alarm that went off on my phone, and then I got the critical alarm that went on my phone, which means somebody has now broken and entered into my house. And then I heard this loud bang downstairs, which I thought sounded like a gunshot, but I didn't know. But either way, there was a loud bang. My worst case scenario that just happened is that kid broke back into my house. My private armed patrol came, found him, and shot him. So I was just sitting in my room like hyperventilating, and then I hear people calling my name at the bottom of the stairs, like Gabrielle, Gabrielle. Part 3 coming. So I asked them, who is it? And they said, it's the police. So I come down, like I don't know if they're lying or not, because I don't know if whoever just fucking broke into my house is lying about being the police, but I just had faith that it was, because what else do you do? So I come down the stairs, I see 4 of the 5 officers standing right at the bottom, and I was like, what's going on? And they're like, we're just here for you, we're just here for your safety. At this point, I still don't know what's going on. I don't know if I'm gonna walk in on a dead body. I don't know like if this kid was on the run. Like I literally have no fucking idea what's going on, or how there's all of a sudden all of these cops in my house, what felt like moments after this kid left. Like I actually don't know the exact time. I know he got here around 9:30. They got here between 10 and 10:30. I don't really know how long he was in my house, but they asked me to turn around on the stairs, and then they cuffed me. And I said, why am I being put in cuffs? And they just kept saying, it's for your own safety, it's for your own safety. So then they had me sit down in this chair, and I'm like, what's going on? And they're still not answering me. They said that they're still just trying to do this for my safety. So then I'm like, oh my God, was this kid actually like a murderer or a rapist on the run? That would make total sense. That maybe this kid came in because he was hiding from something. Like they literally wouldn't tell me anything, so my mind is just filling in all these blanks. So I said, oh wait, oh my God, I think I know why you're here. Like what happened? Like, is that guy? And then they're just like, what are you talking about? So then I found out they have no fucking idea who this guy even is, and they're here on something completely unrelated. So now I'm just like, what are the fucking odds that these two things would happen so closely together? So they just keep reminding me, we're here for your safety. I just have to ask you again and again and again. They kept asking me, do you want to hurt yourself? Do you want to hurt anybody else? And I said, no. And they said, well, why do we keep getting calls? And I said, I tell you guys every time you come, it's just trolls. But like they have no internal communication, and that's the problem. Is like I believe that a lot of the cops that show up have good intentions. They're just doing their job, but they don't communicate with each other. So now I'm the target of the police getting angry that calls are coming in about it. I just got another call yesterday when I was leaving the gym for another wellness check. And I'm like, can you guys, I told the lady on the phone, I was just detained for 2 hours in my home, and then 2 more detectives showed up, and 2 more police showed up, and then another cop showed up. Like, do you guys have any internal communication, or am I just gonna be harassed for the rest of my life on these wellness checks? Because I'll tell you what, the cops for the past month are what triggered me into my very first fucking manic episode. I think an important piece of this story too that I should acknowledge is that I was high as fuck, and I'm an adult, I'm in California, it's legal, I only smoke weed, I'm not on any prescriptions outside of my acne medication, I've been prescribed for my ADHD in the past, I tried it last summer, I decided it's not for me, but weed for me is more of a shroom trip, which is why I don't fuck with shrooms, I don't try LSD, I've never tried DMT, because my weed experience is very hallucinogenic and also very spiritual, which is fine if you're just chilling in nature or my pool or my jacuzzi or on a walk in my neighborhood or trying to meditate or creating or painting. Weed's great, right? When you're being constantly hounded by police and now you're also triggering all these trauma responses, because I do have CPTSD, and y'all, I've been through some shit. I have had a knife pulled on me, and my 2nd grade teacher came out and saved me, Mr. Gun. What? I have stood between a gun and children. That's a real story. That's not something that I made up. I was a victim of childhood abuse as an adult. I was a victim of domestic violence. I'm a rape survivor. I've been through some fucking shit. I smoke some weed and I process it. But when there's people with guns and people lying to you, saying they need to use your bathroom and secretly filming you, and like the tabloid shit that I've been through the years, and just like rumors and lies and like death threats and getting 8-page handwritten scathing letters to my fucking door, and like emails of people saying they're gonna dig up my grandmother's body and skull fuck her, saying my little sister's a dirty little slut and they're gonna rape her, saying that they know when I'm gonna be where, and like literally some of the threats I've gotten, like I've looked up the people and they're literally convicted fucking like dangerous people. Like it's scary. And before, I've been paranoid. I've definitely been paranoid, but my paranoia was always justified. But there just gets a point where you're like, your reality and your time starts bending and it feels like nobody's listening to you. And it does feel like everybody's attacking you, because a lot of people are. So yeah, some shit happened in my brain that now, like, I'm sad and I'm hurt and I'm embarrassed, but like it happened, and now there's nothing to do but just like move on from it. And I do want to say that 3 of the 5 officers were like really kind and helpful, and I think a lot of it is just like they're not trained to do this, and police should not be called if somebody is in like a mental health crisis, because I wasn't in a mental health crisis until I was like being bullied by people with guns about a mental health crisis. So now that I've acknowledged that, yes, internet, you are right, I was manic, and I didn't know it at the time, as most people in a hypomanic or manic state don't recognize it until they're out of it. And personally, I've never experienced anything mentally like I was experiencing, and I do plan on writing down in detail exactly what I was experiencing, because it was not what the rest of the world was experiencing. And that being said, I also am not going to invalidate my own spiritual experiences, because I do still believe in the divine. I've always on my platform talked about being psychic and made a lot of videos about my ghost stories, and that stuff is still real to me. I am a psychic medium. You either believe in mediums and ghosts or you don't. So that part's not going away. And I am going to stop smoking weed, because while it used to be a shroom trip to me, it now appears to be some type of DMT trip, and it's just too intense for me. So I guess I'm just like a fucking sober little duck now, because I don't drink either because it makes me sick. And now that I'm experiencing manic states, I will be going back to therapy, because I learned how to cope with and deal with hypomania. Mania, I need to make sure that I'm talking to the right people. I'm currently looking for a therapist who is also spiritual and won't invalidate my spirituality or my beliefs, because I still believe in everything that I said I believed in. I believe in God and angels and aliens, because I believe in science and history, and it's what's told through us through our oldest history books, written by people who lived in an entirely different world, who spoke a language that we don't know and that we translated. And I respect my elders, and I respect the history of the world, and I respect that we don't know everything and we don't understand everything. And frankly, I think that people, human beings, have devolved. I think that we were meant to be what we used to be. Maybe we were meant to stay fucking apes, because apes are straight up living in nature. They can literally wreck a human being if they want, and they don't, because they're fucking peaceful until you fuck with them. They just hang out and have sex and masturbate and eat and hang with their babies and hang out in the fucking river. Like, apes have it good. We're the monsters, and we're weak as shit. We had to build guns. You know what I mean? And I believe that we did have a lot more like intuition and connection with the spiritual world, but technology took over. I have my own beliefs about philosophy and time and history and who we are as humans, and I will never stop being an individual who thinks freely. That being said, I'm also mentally ill. They're not mutually exclusive. I believe, especially now with these experiences, I have a lot to offer the world, and I have a lot of knowledge and insight that I can share. But I love to see silver linings, and the silver lining to this is I feel like I can now serve as a precedent or a spokesperson for mental health, which I have always tried to do, and now I feel like I get to really do. You get what you ask for. And I feel like we're in this fucking simulation where everybody pretends now like mental health matters, destigmatize mental health, and if people are going through a mental health issue, still let's attack them and make fun of them, and maybe a decade later we'll free them. And as far as mania or hypomania goes, just because somebody's manic doesn't mean they're dangerous to themselves or anybody else. Just because somebody's saying things in a way that you don't like or that you don't understand or that you don't agree with or you find offensive in some way does not mean that they're dangerous, and does not mean that you should be calling the police and putting their life in danger and wasting the resources. If I wasn't actually like a sane person and had a good head on my shoulders and had my fucking chakras balanced and practice yoga and eat healthy and really fucking check in with myself and journal, if I had seen those cops and tried to run, if I would have tried to attack them, if I would have freaked out and screamed hysterically or kicked my feet around or like caused chaos, like I could have been really hurt, or I could have been taken to a mental hospital. And I wasn't, because even though I was in a manic episode, that doesn't mean that I'm need to be locked away and need like treatment or adult supervision 24/7 or to be shot with medication. Like, no, just let me live in my fucking little nest that I built. Like, I'm a pretty solitary person. Like, I spend a lot of time alone. I spend a lot of time with agoraphobia and really severe anxiety. I do have OCD, ADHD, CPTSD. A doctor once told me that I'm likely autistic, but I didn't pursue an official diagnosis because if you're autistic in America, you can't adopt a baby. Like, there's so many things that are wrong with our systems. It's insane. Like, it's so hard to adopt a baby in general. And if you're autistic, which there's so many varying degrees of autism, and so many people with autism may be better equipped parents than people who are deemed mentally normal or typical. It's just all fucked. And I spent a lot of time thinking about this shit, but I'm not a danger to myself or anybody else. But I do appreciate anybody's concern if you called out of concern, but please don't do that. Thank you. I love you. Okay, so if you don't know by now, I love the number 7. So I think this is going to be the last one, but I did want to address why I deleted them all, or most of the videos. The first reason is just that there were so fucking many of them. I feel like that's why a lot of people were calling me manic in the first place, which was actually really triggering and probably took me out of a hypomanic episode and into a manic episode. I feel like I get so defensive so quickly because of just like the constant fucking mental abuse and harassment I get online. I'm like very quick to fucking build my walls up. It doesn't take a lot of time to post a TikTok. It takes anywhere between 3 seconds and 3 minutes, and yeah. They just change so much in content and context. Like, when I went back to the beginning and I was watching it, it was just spoken word poetry about homeless children and homelessness and religion and aliens and witches and numbers and the Matrix and the simulation theory. And yeah, I screamed in that video, the help me video, because I am trying to get attention on it. But just because I'm responding to a poem with passion and emotion and performing, that was performance. Help me, help me, help me, help us. That was performance. But then when it turns into people calling the police because they're not listening to what I'm saying in context, they're just looking into the drama of it, and now it's like a whole different fucking thing. It did spiral into something else. So when I look back at those videos, I'm like, this is actually sad. A lot of them are sad. A lot of them to me are funny, and a lot of them to me are still incredibly clever and artistic in ways that I don't believe that people give me the credit to, give me the time to look into the spelling and the grammar and the punctuation and realize that I am actually doing something really intentional. And that's fine. That's fine. And most importantly, I just didn't represent myself or my points well in certain places. And I'm not afraid to offend people. I think that good art offends people. Like, Lady Gaga showed up on the red carpet in a fucking meat dress. That pissed people the fuck off. It was offensive to a lot of different people, right? That's art. You want people to talk. Warhol was highly controversial. Da Vinci in his time was controversial. Van Gogh never sold a painting, cut off his fucking ear. Everybody thought he was crazy. Poe died a poor fucking alcoholic. I'm okay with that. What I'm not okay with is when I didn't do myself or others justice in taking the proper time to adequately express my point, because my heart is pure and I love all people. And sometimes in trying to prove a point or do any type of irony or satire or trying to highlight an issue, it just misses the mark. And I missed the mark a couple times, but I'll fix it when the time is right. I know I said the last one was the last one, but this is the last one, because I never cause drama or fake anything to promote a project. And people are always like, every time she has a project coming out, I always have a project coming out. And I'm always mentally ill.